What's up, VIPs? I'm Lisa Blonay, and you're locked into Blonay Media. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I am back to catch you guys up on the tea or whatever. Well, today we will be talking about the TUPAC Shakur trial. Now, remember, we are the third party. This is a commentary reaction channel. Your POV is welcome in the chat. Just talk to me nice, all right? Now, this morning, we are going to be on day 3 of the TUPAC Shakur trial. As you guys all know, and if you don't, they are currently doing jury selection, so there's no online stream as of yet. It is expected probably to last probably to the end of this week. Sometimes it takes several days, but I'm pretty sure that they will be set to start the trial on Monday, and we will be well, versed. We will know a lot about this case. And we will be ready, okay? Now, just a little details on the trial overview and the charges. Dwayne Keefe Davis is the former Compton gang leader and the only person ever criminally charged in the connection of Shakur's unaliving. And he was arrested in September 2023 and has pleaded not guilty. Now, he has been held since 2023, and he is set to go on trial. I think as early as Monday, okay? I may be wrong, but we will be here regardless. I will be here to catch you up on everything, and you won't want to miss it. So make sure that you turn on your notifications. Now, prosecutors do not claim that Davis pulled the trigger. Instead, they argue that he orchestrated the retaliation, acquired the firearm, and provided the weapon used in the drive-by, okay? Now, the trigger man, Orlando Baby Lane Davis, who is Davis's nephew and alleged shooter, died in 1998 in a gang shootout. The other 2 passengers in the suspect vehicle have also died, okay? The only 2 people remaining that are really the main players in this case is Dwayne Keefe Davis and Suge Knight, okay? Now, I wanted to go ahead and get into this, you guys, because there is a darker side. And the reason why I say this is because I've been hearing online and seeing different clips and stuff of people who are really chalking Diddy up to not being dangerous, not being that guy. And it kind of bothers me because I actually followed the Diddy trial from beginning to end. And I can tell you that that is further from the truth. There is nothing further from the truth than for you to say that Diddy is not dangerous and did not play a part in the whole hip hop West Coast, East Coast beef way back from 1996 all the way up until now. Now, we know the 2 main players that I'm about to talk about, well, 3 of them are currently locked up. That is Dwayne Keefe Davis, who was arrested in September of 2023 and has been in custody ever since. We have Suge Knight, who is currently serving a 28-year sentence, okay? And we have Sean Diddy Combs, who is currently serving a 50-month sentence, all right? Who knew that it would come to this, okay? And I never thought that Tupac's trial and justice would ever see the light of day. So I am very, very invested into this trial, but I wanted to get in some of the darker side of this, the players in all of this, okay? Let's see. Make sure you smash that like button, you guys. Now, first, let's go back where this all exploded publicly as far as Diddy goes, okay, in exposing him. Because what he was doing was behind the scenes, all right? Although a lot of people were privy to it, you had to be there. You had to be behind the scenes, okay? It wasn't so much for the people who are on the outside looking in. So we're going to go ahead and start there where this all exploded publicly, okay? Cassie Ventura. Now, Cassie accused Diddy of grape and years, decades, okay, a decade or so of physical abuse during their relationship. Diddy denied the allegations, but the lawsuit was settled just one day after it was filed. And I think she got close to 30 mil, right? But it was that infamous 2016 video of him pummeling and kicking and beating Cassie in a hotel lobby. Okay. And that settlement didn't end the story. Okay. Instead, it opened the floodgates to numerous additional allegations against Diddy, including sexual assault claims and allegations surrounding like drug fueled sexual encounters. Okay. And a slew of lawsuits, civil lawsuits. Okay. Clearly over 60 right now he's facing. Okay. So his life is not going to be luxury. He's going to be in and out of court damn near the rest of his life. But we'll get into that. All right. Now, those allegations ultimately became part of a much larger federal criminal case. And that's where the things get even more worse. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and cover the beginning, which is Cassie Ventura. Second, the testimony from the fashion designer, Brianna Bongolan. Bongolan. I'm just going to say that. I don't know if I'm saying, sorry about that. Now, she testified in the Diddy trial. Now, during the testimony, Bongolan described an extremely disturbing alleged encounter involving Diddy at a Los Angeles high-rise. She testified that Diddy allegedly picked her up and held her over a 17th floor balcony. Okay. And when I think about that, I think about Suge Knight. Okay. And I know a lot of people are trying to soften the blow and with Suge Knight as well, but he was also a dangerous man. Okay. And during that time in Los Angeles, I lived that era. I was afraid of him. I didn't even know him. But he had a reputation on the streets, and he didn't play. Okay. He was dangling people off the balcony. Okay. Like Vanilla Ice and probably others. Okay. He used to walk in, pistol whipping, beating people, threatening people, pow-powing people. These two men were dangerous. This is the darker side of the people that are involved in the TUPAC Shakur trial, one way or the other. Okay. Because Diddy's name, he may not be on the list. I don't know, but his name keeps coming up. Okay. And so I thought at least shine a little light on this man and his dark ways and how he contributed to the delinquency of hip hop, the downfall of and the darker side of hip hop. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get into that too. And that kind of testimony that we're about to go through and I'm about to expose to you guys, or maybe remind you of, you might have heard of it, makes you stop and ask what exactly was happening behind the scenes in these relationships, these social circles. Okay. That was hip hop. But remember, testimony is evidence presented in court, and an allegation or accusation is not automatically proof. Okay. Also, I wanted to go over Jones, right? Little Rodney Jones, or Rodney Little Rod Jones, filed a lawsuit alleging that Sean Combs and Justin Combs were connected to a September 2022 shooting inside of the Los Angeles recording studio bathroom that left a man wounded. Not dangerous, huh? Doesn't seem like that kind of guy, huh? You must have not followed the Diddy case. All right. But I'm here to catch you up. Both Diddy and Justin Combs have denied those allegations. Okay. So now we have multiple stories involving different people, different circumstances, and different legal proceedings. And that's why it's important to separate what was alleged, what was testified to, and what had been denied, and what was actually proven. Okay. So it's kind of a mix here. Okay. Because social media doesn't always make those distinctions. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into this, you guys. Make sure you smash that like button. I will be in the chat. And let's go ahead and get into this. Now, We're also going to talk about the major, which I feel is a major win and a chance at justice, because the judge allows not only the book um, that TPD wrote, but also his interviews in 2008 and 2009, which his defense team tried to keep out, but were unsuccessful at. So we're going to take a peek at that, because I believe that's a major win for the prosecution and just basically across the board, a chance at justice, because that's what I'm here for. I'm not on either team. I'm here for Tupac. I'm Team Tupac, and I want to see justice. Okay. Um, like I said, Diddy was dangerous and fits the narrative, and Suge may be a reflection of that dangerousness, right? And witnesses, because of what he did on these streets, okay? The dirty things that he did himself. I think this may make him, and it's just my opinion, because he already said he didn't want to testify. All right. Um, it may make him a reluctant witness. It may make him one of those, I don't know, I don't know, I don't remember type things. That is frustrating. So I hope that doesn't happen. But one of the reasons behind it is he's done so much dirt himself. You feel me? So maybe they might have to give him a deal. I don't know. But let's go ahead and get into this, okay? Thank you guys for tapping in. Now, what I want to show you guys first is the judge's ruling on keeping these books and interviews from 2008 and 2009. Let's go ahead and get into that before we get into the darker side of this, because I'm about to take you down a rabbit hole in some you probably don't even know. Okay. I wish that I could show you guys the photos of that damn bathroom where Justin Combs and Diddy did what they did, but unfortunately I can't. Okay. I will tell you where you guys can find it though, but brother, y'all, you don't know how dark this is going to get, and what the darkness in all of the things that Tupac Shakur was facing. Okay. I mean, he had a little Tupac in him. I mean, how much Tupac in you got? You know what I'm saying? He was a thug, wasn't no gangster, y'all. He got caught up in this lifestyle I think, because of association. And I feel like if he wouldn't have got involved in that, that he would still be alive today, as well as Biggie. Okay. But this is where the Diddy aspect comes into it. Okay. And jealousy is a motherfucker. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into what the judge had to say. I'm just going to kind of skip through it. But you guys are going to hear the gist of it. And then let me see if, yeah. So let's go ahead and get into this, you guys. I'm going to make sure you guys can see it as well. Let's see. Okay. I'm just going to pull this up for you guys, because I was going to show you guys something else, but I think I'll go ahead and just open up with, excuse me, the judge's ruling on allowing, excuse me, allowing those interviews and the book. Okay. Now I'm going to make sure you guys can see this too as well. Let's go ahead and get into this. Shout out to everybody in the chat. It is currently 8:38 a.m. here on the West Coast. Let me know what time it is in your neck of the woods. Okay, you guys, represent your city, your state, your hood. Let me know where you're tapping in from. I would love to know who I'm reaching and who's listening. All right, so let me go ahead and pull this up for you. Let me make sure you guys can hear me too as well. Green hearts in the chat if you can hear me. I think you can. It's really important that you guys hear the audio of the video that I'm showing you, okay? We're going to start from the beginning. We're going to kind of skip through just to give you a gist and the idea, because this video is over an hour long, and I don't think we need to watch a whole hour to make my point. If you want to watch this video in its entirety without interruption, go on over to Court TV right here on YouTube, and you can watch it there after this live stream, all right? So let's go ahead and get into it, where we start with Dwayne Keefe D. I'm just going to say Keefe D. Keefe D's team, all right, the defense lawyers are presenting their case, their argument to the judge, okay? I think, what's the judge's name? We'll find out the judge's name. I forgot what her name is. Judge Clearney, but I forgot her first name. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. Make sure you guys can see this too as well. Hold on, y'all. Okay.
Level of media attention that we have on it, the fear and the danger is that the individuals will go home at night and listen to commentary. Maybe not directly, but through family members, something along those lines. So we're always concerned about that. That's why we talk about it.
I think sequestration worked pretty well when not everyone had a phone, but did absolutely everything in their lives attached to them. I don't know how we could separate the jurors from their phones for an entire 30. We have to take them essentially to accomplish the goals of sequestration that you're laying out. Additionally, if we did that, then they'd be alone in a hotel room, no phones, away from their daily routines, probably watching TV, which would then have coverage. So my concern is that sequestration might actually not resolve any of the issues that we have. But I do understand the concerns while jurors are in the building, that there may be communication with people, so we could do some sort of like partial sequestration while they're in the building, going kind of to the back for lunches and things like that.
And we have talked about it with the state that if, a full, how do you pronounce it, sequestration?
Yeah.
If that's not going to be granted, that yes, absolutely, maybe accommodating jurors through the back elevators so they're not in the hallways coming up towards the courthouse would be a way to sort of protect them while they're in and out of the building.
Yeah.
And maybe have lunch forums in the jury room type thing. The other thing I was going to
We've reached out to another department that did that in a case, I think, last year, and so to get some guidelines on how that worked.
Yeah, that was going to be our position as to, we've done a lot of high profiles, and that's it. It's like a daily sequestration for things to go home at night.
Yeah.
The only other thing I was going to suggest is, as it relates to jury selection, once we go through some of the hardships and all that other stuff, it may be best in this particular case to do individual sequestered body or the jurors themselves, so that when one juror discusses their knowledge of it, we don't have to deal with that situation. I don't know if the court wants to address that after you ask who here has heard about this case, or if you want to just do it up front and make that decision.
So I think very valid concerns. I think we can talk about maybe how we're going to handle that, but I do think it makes sense maybe when people raise their hand that they've talked about it, to take those people individually and see if how much they've heard about it, instead, without affecting the rest of the jury with their knowledge. So it might be sequestered for kind of that answer. I don't know. I'll take some suggestions from the parties, but what are your thoughts on that, Mr. Stan?
I had dinner last night with a professor from BYU who's 73 years old, and he heard of TUPAC. which once again, I would have bet no, but 30 years ago, he was 40. So it makes sense that when you're 40, but so I think we're gonna get the same problem. Everyone at some point will raise their hand because they're gonna be familiar with something to do with this particular trial, whether it's his music, whether it's, some of the other individuals that would be named by the state as potential witnesses in this case, that they would have knowledge about that. So I think we cross that bridge when we get there.
Sure. I anticipate larger panels than usual, multiple days of large panels, and probably a lot of people that maybe ultimately cannot be fair in the situation and are excused because of their either knowledge or interest in the case or, some sort of issue with that. But I think we're all kind of aware of it. It seems like you've got some thoughts as well.
I think it's just because of the nature of this case. I think we're all on high alert as to how this case is going to proceed forward. That would give us a fair and impartial jury, right? So I think we're all on the same page as to that particular intention. It's not just a matter of how we're going to make that happen. So, having a jury of 100 potential people on a panel and individually hearing them might be a problem just because of the time issues here and constraints. I don't know the court's position would be on that.
Sure. We won't be able to ask them to move these.
It's one of the best questions ever asked by a defense attorney.
Anyway, I think what I see doing is when people raise their hands that they've heard about it, we'll ask that question individually, but not the entire voir dire, because I think, as I've seen, you pick a jury, you pick a jury. There's a lot of building that goes on the other questions, but the questions about the victim, if people know them, or people know this situation, I think need to be outside presence. I agree with everybody.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So denied in part, or denied as to full sequestration, granted in part as to a partial sequestration, which we can all work out a little closer to the date. The next motion that I have on calendar would be the motion to suppress.
Your Honor, due to the fact that we filed a very lengthy motion to suppress in this matter, I'm going to rely on my notes and just let the court know. I don't know the last time I've done this voluntarily, so be in front of the court like this. But I think the issue here that we have with regards to what we filed is that the statements that were made by Mr. Davis in 2008 and 2009, we're arguing here that it's not an issue of immunity, which was covered before by previous counsel. This is an issue now as to voluntariness.
Right, and I did see that in the opposition. They were kind of arguing, this is what I think Mr. Stanford arguing, but it seemed like you were focusing on voluntariness, because that's what you want to really focus on.
Right. Because those are the things that have now been developed during our review of the discovery in the matter.
Okay.
And what we're talking specifically about are interviews that were conducted of people that were either present during the interviews with Mr. Davis in 2008 and or 2009, and with regards to Detective Mogg's efforts afterwards in terms of his interviews with people and what they believe to be something that they couldn't get into because of their knowledge of what was going on during that time period.
Okay, so then when we're talking voluntariness, first we're saying Miranda doesn't exist, or is this a custodial interrogation, and then we're moving into kind of the common factors.
Correct. Now, I think, and I want to make sure in terms of the motion that was filed by the state,
if you got hit, even if
the issue I think that we have here is that the position the state I think is taking is like, hey, because Mr. Davis allegedly lied, that somehow the proffer does not cover. He does not have the benefit of the protection of the proffer because of the fact that allegedly he's lied in this matter. The issue that we have with that is that, first of all, we cite to Rogers v. Richmond, which is 365 U.S. 534. And this is on pages 543 to 544. That in essence, the Supreme Court has mentioned that, hey, the trial judge should focus on the question of whether or not the behavior of law enforcement officers was such to overbear a defendant's will to resist and bring about confessions not freely determined, and not necessarily because of the fact that they're, whether he lied or not.
the idea behind it is that when an individual goes forward, he's in a room, he's with law enforcement. Does he lie or not? It sort of doesn't matter. That's not the analysis here that was offered in Rogers. In addition to that, with regards to inconsistent statements or defenses, we can offer inconsistent defenses, which is, we cite here to Matthews v. U.S., and this is 485, U.S. 58, as well as U.S. v. Dema. And what I mean by that is that, we have, due process requires us as defense to have a meaningful opportunity to present every available defense, even if defenses tend to be contradictory to one another. And that happens all the time in cases where you say, well, we don't think he was here, but if he was here, he was acting in self-defense, something along those lines. And I think the court can understand that issue. To me, the other part of the problem here is the idea that, hey, we waive the privilege because we voluntarily disclosed. The state points out NRS 4949385 to talk specifically about this idea of privileges and so forth. But the problem is that the privileges aren't applicable in this particular case. It's not a privilege in terms of, say, attorney and client. This is an individual who's in a room with other people. And so with regards to the analysis under NRS 49.385, it's an inapplicable argument because it doesn't apply to this particular scenario and fact base. In fact, I think the interesting thing about this case for everyone that's concerned is that there's a lot of ideas here that may end up being things of first impression. I mean, trying to find case law that fits and provides some type of direction on this particular issue it's not out there. There's no case on point. There's no issue with regard to the Supreme Court, the United States or Nevada, that really sort of lent any type of real direction to the court to follow. I think at the end of the day, one of the things here is comparing what they're arguing to Diaz versus 8th Judicial District Court, which is 116 Nevada 88. The Nevada Supreme Court held that the waiver statute does not apply to privilege in that particular case with regard to news shield statutes. And that was a case in which a journalist does not have to waive any rights or privileges by publication if they do publish. And so as a result, we're also arguing that it's the only direction that we have right now with regards to how the Nevada Supreme Court has viewed that particular issue. No Nevada Supreme Court or U.S. Supreme Court cases directly address the proffer issue with regard to a promise or inducement to render a confession involuntary. The voluntariness of confession is determined by the totality of circumstances. I cite to Arizona v. Fulminante, which is 499 U.S. 279. And I'm going to quote to it. It says, a defendant's confession is like no other evidence. It is probably the most probative and damaging evidence that could be admitted against them. And if it is a full confession, a jury may be tempted to rely on it alone in reaching its decision, while some statements by a defendant may concern isolated aspects of the crime or may be incriminating only when linked to other evidence. A full confession, in which the defendant discloses the motive for and means of the crime, may tempt the jury to rely upon that evidence alone in reaching its decision. There should be a huge red flag of extreme caution to the court with regards to admitting that kind of information from 2008, 2009. And that is, once again, Arizona v. Fulminante 499 U.S. 279. We have a situation here where it's a 30-year-old case. It's a multi-jurisdictional case. There's a lot of things that were done in secret, and it's messy. The question is, at the end of the day, whose fault is that? Obviously, we're not law enforcement. We're the defense. Mr. Davis is a citizen wandering around in his life doing his thing. And in the meantime, as this is happening behind the scenes and under the table and in the water, there's movement, planning, things that are happening, discussions that are taking place to try to figure out, okay, how do we resolve this issue? And the problem is that if we keep Mr. Davis as someone that's responsible for this, for the messiness of this case, for that kind of thing, I think we have a huge issue because I don't think it's his responsibility.
All right, you guys, thank you for listening. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to hear the defense partial argument because it goes on. I did listen to this in its entirety, and he is allowed the defense argues that they want to keep the book and the 2008 and 2009 interview that Keefe D did with, first of all, now retired detective Greg Kading, and then I think he's LAPD, and then in 2009, he interviewed with the LVMPD, which is the Las Vegas Police Department, Metropolitan Police Department. They are arguing basically, and this is just the gist of it, you guys. I may not got it all the way right, but this is just the gist of it. Okay. Well, when they first started out, they agreed on like maybe a partial sequestering because they wanted to just take the jurors, whoever made it on the jury, in the jury pool, they would just take your phone and sequester you, meaning that they would be in a hotel, like the judge said, without a phone for 30 days, disconnected from family, disconnected from the world, right? Probably go a little stir crazy, but they would have access to a TV. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know exactly how that ended, but it seemed as if they agreed to take it by ear and agreed to like a partial sequestering. So I just wanted to clarify that. Then they got into that they are arguing that TPD was not Mirandized correctly, okay, properly. And they say that it happened 5 minutes after him confessing, or not at all. I'm not too sure on that, but this was the issue, okay? This was their main argument. Now, we just heard that he said that they want to admit it because he lied, and they're calling this inconsistent statements, okay? I'll save my, opinions for I'll reserve my opinions, and get through the facts. Now, the attorney-client privilege, they say, was violated because this was recorded and there were other people in the room. And they have this like after the fact kind of narrative, okay, where the attorney and law enforcement are at fault. And you see that he was like, this is messy. He's blaming it basically on law enforcement and the attorneys that were before him, okay? Now, he's also saying that you can't be charged with what is repeated in the recordings. And we all know that after he did those interviews, he went on to not only write a book, but do 11 other interviews where you repeated this same information over and over and over again, okay? Now, he also mentions Greg Kading, all right, in this, okay, and Detective Long. So he also mentions them. Now, what had happened was, and from my understanding, y'all, and he talking about, oh, TPD was just toddling on along, doing his thing. He got caught with a kilo of snow and damn PCP. Hello, he was doing his thing, all right, illegally. And this is what the law enforcement had to dangle over TPD's head. Not to mention, this would have been your third strike, okay? If not your fourth, right? So this man was facing time, okay? It wasn't just like, la, 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 oh, excuse me, would you like to talk to us about and from the details in there, they wanted him to talk about not the Tupac unaliving, but the Biggie unaliving. Did you guys know that? That was initially why they wanted to talk to this man. But this man, Keefe D, voluntarily says, oh, well, I know something about the Tupac trial. Oh, do you now? Come, do that. Right? So it basically was that, right? But they had that hanging over his head. This is the reason why they were saying that Keefe D was set up for what? You think they put the I'm in love with the coco in his hand in the PCP? Anyways, y'all, this is where this comes from, right? And they were saying that they set him up to arrest him and then offer the proffer. Okay. Now there was talks of the book and the co-author as well. Okay. They brought that person up and parts of it being read to the grand jury. Okay. They say it was made up. Statements were made for entertain and basically what Keefe D said and his statements were made for entertainment purposes only and to promote the book. Okay. And that's the gist of it. Now we are going to forward because I want you to hear exactly what the judge said. Okay. Because, you know, this is legalese and, you know, it's kind of hard to kind of differentiate. So I want you guys to hear exactly what the judge is saying. So we're going to forward to the judge. Okay. She's going to ask about the promotion of the book. And then she's going to give her ruling. Okay. So we're going to listen to that. And let me take you guys there. Okay.
It's about is like, hey, you know what? It's this idea that, hey, in the book, he sort of made it up. And I'm not talking about Mr. Davis. I'm talking about this other person before reading the book into the record. Because it's not like he testified and said, this is what I do, and the book was part of it. He read excerpts of the book as if it was the gospel truth into the record on the grand jury. And so our position is that in this particular case is that, look, he finally goes and meets with the other writer, but the writer is not giving him the information that he wants. He's not saying, hey, you know, I just received whatever Mr. Davis sent to me on an email. I just put it in the book. Whenever I did something wrong, he would correct me. It's not that conversation now. What the conversation is about is like, hey, you know what? It's this idea that, hey, in the book, he sort of made it up. And I'm not talking about Mr. Davis. I'm talking about this other person named Yusuf. So to me,
Well, I mean, doesn't that disregard every single promotion of that book by your client?
you know, the problem with the promotions are,
Yeah.
you don't raise your hand to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth when you give your promotion. You don't sit there at, you know, in BET in the middle of this, 6-part documentary and you say, you know what, I'm going to tell the truth today. Now, you do expect to tell the truth. And what people do expect is that when you're questioned by law enforcement, that you are telling the truth when you're being asked questions about some investigation, right? There's an inference there that you are going to tell the truth there. But to a documentary, in a promotion of a book, to me, the problem with the analysis is on some levels that we're putting way too much credence and value and weight on statements that are made for entertainment purposes only. Not a confession to a priest, not a confession to a police officer, but rather to promote a book, to sell a product. And that's where we're at with it.
I think you used a really interesting word when you said the weight to give this, right? I mean, I don't know that there's necessarily a legal basis to keep this out, to keep the book out entirely or admissibility. I think all of your arguments that you've argued about Mr. Suge and how this book was written and how it was composed, maybe go to weight. What weight the jury should assign it as opposed to a legal admissibility issue.
Yes, Sean.
Okay.
And I think ultimately, just with regards to the motion, we do label out other parts of it, and just to get to the point at the end, once again, I think we have a huge problem here if we're going to say, look, his words in 2008, 2009, even based upon what these other detectives were saying that were present, people who understood what was going on during that time period, this was a proper. all those things, I think on some level, all of a sudden now the state wants to say, well, we weren't party to that, but you were party in 2009. And on top of it too, it's law enforcement. Like, I don't understand how that wouldn't be a thing with regard to each state honoring the efforts of other law enforcement with regard to their investigation, even if it's about the same thing. Maybe that's another issue that will go up on appeal, and that would be a different issue that would be decided with regards to new case law. I don't know. I just know at the end of the day, what we have here is we have an individual that gave an involuntary confession, who gave an involuntary statement because he was threatened. It's clear from the record, it's clear from the interviews with these previous detectives that that was the issue, especially from Detective Katie, and as a result, we will be asking the court to suppress the 2008 and 2009 interviews and the book.
Okay. Turning to the state. It's the voluntariness argument. I think the voluntariness framework is what was really raised here. And I think the issue is sort of morphed into that of essentially when you're told this won't ever be used against you, that's possible, that's very coercive, and that's essentially renders it involuntary. But that really only essentially applied to the 2008. Did you want to be heard about all of the issues that Mr. Sanchez brought up?
Yeah, and just briefly, because obviously the book is admissible, the number of adopted admissions, but I also think they're taking a lot of liberties with what the author said about the book. But the book is central to almost every other argument.
So you start with the book and work backwards.
Yes. If you notice, and I don't know if the court's read the entire book, we've given
I read these
segments of it before. And maybe we should supply the court an entire copy of the book, because you'll have a better understanding of all of the facts that are discussed within that book and how the trial will proceed and questions. We were actually going to file a motion in limine on what portions of the book the court is going to admit or not admit, although it becomes really interesting when a defendant is going to disclaim authorship of the book. We should be able to establish every fact he says in there, but there are some very prejudicial things that he says within there that are true, but maybe more prejudicial than appropriate. But that being said, this issue is right now, authentication, I guess, is the really what they're arguing. And obviously, as the court notes, he adopted it by admission, whether he wrote it or not. So to me, the 2009 aspect, or sorry, the 2018 book, 19 book, really isn't in dispute here. The court's already sort of assessed the 2009 one, and I know that Mr. Stamp said, well, what did the DAs know or not know back in 2009, and that should somehow be held against us. But the court, in the motion to for immunity, reviewed, I didn't put
your team.
reviewed, I didn't put Dan Long's affidavit, but also I did put Detective Long's affidavit in here. In 2009, nobody from Las Vegas could understand the circle.
All right, you guys, hold on, because it seems like it's going to have technical difficulties. I'm going to stop and play it again, but sometimes the StreamYard goes out and it just blanks out. and then I have to pull it back up. I hope that this is not the case for this, but let me go ahead and go out and come back in, okay? So let me see. I'm going to keep the sound on, and let's see if that's going to be the case. Let me start it up again. If it starts to drag, I'm going to have to refresh the page, okay? All right.
Police officers aren't lawyers, but clearly police officers aren't lawyers, but might there have been a reason for Detective Mogg to have investigated this case without ever reviewing the 2009 case statement? The grand jury presentment being done without the 2009 statement, because at the time, we still didn't know what the circumstances were, and ultimately, we now do know what the circumstances are.
Okay, so kind of get through the technicalities. Of course, the defense is going to want to keep it out. The prosecution is going to want to keep it in. This is the argument. Let us skip forward to the judge's ruling, okay? Now we heard that the defense said that TPD was threatened and that what he said was his confession was involuntary because he was being threatened. They asked that they suppress not only the interview, but both the interviews, but also the book. Okay. Keithy D claimed authorship, and that's kind of like what the judge was saying, that he claimed authorship of the writing of the book. I mean, his name is in capital letters. It is the first name on the front of that Compton Legends book, right? But let us skip forward to the judge's ruling.
And I think it would be the most prudent position would be to exclude the 2008, 2009 statement.
All right, starting backwards. I think really no question on Compton Street Ledger. I find that as admissible under NRS 51.035 subsection 3. It's clear that Mr. Davis adopted the statements therein as his own through publication, promotion, and subsequent ratification. In his interview to Vlad TV, he promotes this book as his book. He encourages people to buy it to get the real truth and not from the law enforcement or industry people. He also repeatedly says it's something like the whole truth of the situation. So he's indicated to a reporter also on 10/21/23 that he wrote the book to let people know his truth. He's adopted its contents under NRS 51.035 subsection 3B. And then ultimately, when you look at the entirety of Mr. Jaw's interview, it supports that the factual content from the book was from Mr. Davis, and that Mr. Davis ultimately also got the manuscript and made no edits to the description of the murder that's relevant for today. Ultimately, the arguments regarding what Mr. Jaw's contributions to the book are, et cetera, goes to weight, not admissibility of the book. I really find there is no legal argument to exclude the book. Working backwards, then, when I'm looking at what's in front of me, the motion is on voluntariness here, right? And so when I'm looking at voluntariness, I started this out saying, first I'm looking for, is Miranda required? And then I'm looking to those Passama factors. And so ultimately, a criminal defendant is deprived of due process if the conviction is based upon an involuntary confession, and voluntariness is determined under the totality of the circumstances, including the age, intelligence, custodial status, and whether coercive police tactics overboard the will. When I look at Passama, Dewey versus State, and then the Miranda decision itself. When we're looking at Miranda, it's only custodial interrogation. It doesn't require warnings where a defendant voluntarily provides information in a non-custodial setting. Statements offered against a party are admissible where they are the party's old statements or the party's manifested an adoption or belief in their truth. Neither required Miranda because neither ultimately were in a custody setting. He was free to leave at all times, and in fact, he did leave for decades after these were stated. So I don't think the Miranda framework is the appropriate one here. Additionally, it's important to note that he was represented by counsel throughout, and that is really what Miranda is. Miranda is designed to protect from police infringement on a person's ability to protect against coercion, and that's what the attorney's entire job is. When I look at the PSAMA factors that have been laid out, I don't think they apply here necessarily to establish involuntariness, really. If I apply that test, Mr. Davis passes with flying colors. I mean, this is a situation where he is an adult. He's not inexperienced in the criminal justice system. He has counsel present. He's expressly advised he is not under arrest. Educated, he's not isolated, he's not subject to prolonged detention, deprivation, or coercive texts. I mean, he's indicted to the situation. He comes to tell his story to avoid the federal government's issue. So I don't find it that it's involuntary either. However, I do have problems with that 2008 interview, but I don't think that they were necessarily addressed in the framework that I'm given here. So I'm not necessarily saying it's admissible. I'm saying it's not voluntary at this time. So the motion is denied as written.
Okay, so you've heard the judge's ruling, meaning that those will be admissible now. She stopped short of the 2008. She said that she did have, some, concerns about the 2008 interview, but within the framework that the defense presented that argument, she could not rule, on that specifically. So you heard what the judge said, you guys. Now, before we get into this, I just wanted to speak on some things that were said when they were talking about sequestering the jury. And he had mentioned that someone on the jury, a potential juror, was 70 years old. And this is the specifics and uniqueness of this case, because 30 years ago, that person was only 40 years old. And that would have been, you know what I'm saying? He would have known about Tupac. So 30 years later, he's 70 years old and knows about Tupac. You know what I'm saying? Because the defense was saying, like, he's 70 and he knows about Tupac. But when you think about it, 30 years ago, that man was 40 years old. So I think that's the uniqueness, some of the uniqueness about this case. Also, because Generation X was the first generation of hip hop, all right? I think that the people that we're about to talk about really put a stain on hip hop, a stain on Generation X. I mean, because we look like a bunch of junkies and crooks and sexual deviants, right? Just as a whole, like as the generation, like just looking back, right? Because most of our heroes or our celebrities or the hip hop people that we looked up to are either dead or in jail. And that's sad, right? But I do feel like Diddy was a copycat, okay? He never was original. I believe that he was a punk and a bully and sad and sadistic and an addict with money, power, and fake respect through fear. I also believe that he not only wanted to be Biggie, he wanted to be Tupac, and that he emulated Suge Knight, okay? And we're about to get into this, okay? So let's go ahead and get into this. Now, before we go any further, I did see a partial list of the witness list, and I wanted to go ahead and get into that. let me take this down, you guys. And I will be in the chat. So let's go ahead and go on over to the witness list as well. And let me go ahead and bring that up. Well, did I take it all the way down? Damn. I hate when I do that, y'all. Sorry. Hold on. Let me bring this back up. And let's get to the witness list. It's just a partial of it, but it looks like it was released. And let me see. I just wanted to show you a partial of that list, okay? Now, I did kind of scan the internet. I tried to look it up just by putting in witness list, and I couldn't find the full list, but I still feel that it's important for me to show you this. Also, I wanted to get into a comment that somebody made on this video, okay? And then we'll get into the dark side of the people that are directly involved. And I know people want to separate Biggie from this. I mean, Diddy, but I just don't think that that can be done truthfully. I think his hands are all in this, although he's not directly like linked or named or on the witness list. But just the mention of his name by so many different people that are involved in this case leaves me no doubt that Diddy was somehow involved and played a big role in this, okay? All right, you guys, let me go ahead and bring this up. This is Stephen A. Smith. If you want to watch this video in its entirety without interruptions, make your way on over to Stephen A. Smith right here on YouTube after this live stream. Let me pull this up and let's get into this. Hold on, y'all, because this is a commercial. Well, an ad.
Marked the 30th year anniversary of the death of TUPAC Shakur. And obviously, because of that, his name is going to be in the minds of a lot of people because of how iconic he was, imagining what he might have been, the impact he would have had on today's culture and beyond because of how magnificent he was as a rap artist. And there's a trial that's scheduled to take place soon as well, because due to his passing, he was killed on September 7th, 1996. Somebody is being charged with his murder. And there's nobody better to talk to about that than my next guest, who is a veteran journalist, cultural critic, and host of the popular Touré Show podcast. He's joining me to discuss the long-awaited murder trial of the Wayne Keefe D. Davis, the sole person charged in the 1996 killing of rapper TUPAC Shakur. Please welcome back to the show, Touré himself. What's going on, man? How you doing? How's everything?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. I can't complain. I want you to talk about this trial, and you know what? 30 years later, reasonably, what can we expect from this trial? Could you put that in perspective, please?
Look, the subtext of the trial is the brother wouldn't stop talking. Keefe D has told us in his book, he told the police in 2008, he's told DJ Vlad and other interviewers, I was in the car, we were very upset with them for beating up my nephew Orlando. We felt we had the green light to retaliate against them. None of this would be happening if he had just followed the street code and kept his mouth shut. But you know, deep down, a lot of criminals want to tell people what they did. They want to be known for the things they did. What I believe happened, and what I believe that the prosecutors are alleging, Tupac is walking through after the MGM after the Tyson Selden fight. They run into Orlando Anderson. Suge Knight is a blood. They run into Orlando Anderson, who's a Crip. They get into a fight. They beat him up. Orlando Anderson's uncle is Keefe D, a high-ranking Crip, right? Southside Compton Crips.
Mm-hmm.
He's big enough to say, okay, go shoot Pac, right? Because you got to be a certain level of shot caller to call that shot, right? So he's big enough to do it. The prosecutors say he was in the car. He gave Keefe the gun. He gave his nephew Orlando Anderson the gun to do it. He gave him the okay to do it. He's on trial for being the mastermind, the orchestrator, the shot caller big enough to say, okay, you can do that. So it's just his words. There's no forensics that we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just him talking about being that guy in multiple media over many years.
So basically, he's the Roger Clemens of the rap industry right now, because Roger Clemens, the folks weren't thinking about him on Capitol Hill, and this man, home and retired at the particular time, dared them to subpoena him about the whole steroids era. So they said, we'll oblige, and called them up to Capitol Hill. And that's basically what you're saying. Let me remind people, even though you just outlined a lot of what's transpiring, for those who may not be familiar, remember the facts of the Tupac Shakur case, which is now 30 years old. Let me recap. Tupac was in Las Vegas attending the heavyweight boxing match between Mike Tyson and Bruce Seldon at the MGM Grand on that evening. Torrey, I remember it because it's the one knockout that I saw where a punch never landed. The man missed the punch to Bruce Seldon, and Bruce Seldon went down and stayed down, and then got up at the count of 10 and hugged Mike Tyson. That's what I remember about that. It's still one of the most embarrassing moments in boxing to my very day. But anyway, Tupac was fatally shot that night on Las Vegas Strip in a drive-by and died 6 days later. In the car with him was Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight, who was not hurt, by the way. The case was one of the most high-profile cold cases until Davis explicitly stated in multiple media interviews and in his 2019 memoir, Compton Street Legend, that he obtained and provided the gun to his nephew, Orlando Anderson, a member of a rival Compton gang, the Southside Crips, who used it in the drive-by shooting. So, Torrey, before I get to this question, prosecutors allege Davis orchestrated the killing, and a judge recently ruled that his past media statements can be admitted as evidence. If he's not the one who pulled the trigger, then what is the purpose of going to trial using taxpayer monies and prosecuting this guy for orchestrating the death of Tupac Shakur 30 years later?
Well, we understand that in some situations, particularly gang and mafia situations, the shooter is not the main person. There's somebody above them who actually effectuated or orchestrated the shooting to happen. And those people, we know from studying the mafia, from studying the gangs, those people are equally guilty, and they are purposely trying to create layers to where you remember Denzel in when he was playing before Nicky Barnes, when American Gangster.
Yes, American
when
Gangster.
He's like,
yep,
I don't touch the drugs. Mm-hmm. So should he not be prosecuted because he never actually? No, he effectuated the whole thing. He is the CEO of the corporation. They are trying to bring down the top guy. Keefe D was a top guy who was able to say, because not just anybody could say, go shoot Pac. They know, the gang knows you're going to have a certain amount of blowback coming back at you, right? They're going to point their guns back at you. So you have to be a big enough guy to be able to say, we can handle it with them. We'll be ready when they come back for us. So he was that level of guy. So, if you're a prosecutor in Nevada, how could you have somebody running around the country talking about, I committed that murder. I orchestrated that murder. I made that murder happen. And you don't do anything about
Totally
it?
fair.
Like the problem is all Fifi ran his mouth until they came and got him.
So
all he had to do was shut up.
All he had to do was shut up, didn't want to, and what have you. What do you think gets accomplished with his conviction? Assuming it happens.
Assuming he is convicted, the person who is as deeply responsible for Pac's murder as the person who pulled the trigger, that other person who okayed the murder, that person is brought to justice.
What about those who would look at this?
And let me just say one thing that you don't know about, that because was when Pac was murdered, this was part of this whole East.
That's where I was going. That's where I was going.
And just the one thing, okay, we can go there. The day after Pac was shot, he had already planned to meet with Nas in Vegas and talk about how can we work together to end this East-West thing. And they were big enough to say to all the other rappers, like, okay, it's done. And then people would listen to them. So the end of the East-West thing was cut short, the potential end was cut short because of this murder. Not just the genius work that Tupac made, but the entire war was about to end because of Pac and Nas, and Keefe D gets in the way of that.
Now, I thought that interesting is something that I didn't know, that Tupac had planned to meet with Nas and squash all this. And just imagine if that would have happened. I mean, I know we're here now, but just imagine what hip hop could have been if not for Keefe D and Diddy, in my eyes. All right. I want you to hear this one excerpt of this video, and then we will get to the partial witness list in the case of Tupac, okay?
That Puff really was trying to Vegas casino. I mean, they did what they do. They did some Tupac and Suge stuff. They saw this Crip and they beat him up. Now, of course, the Crip is going to come back and do something. Like that's the Occam's razor explanation to me, rather than Puff wanted blah blah blah. I don't think that Puff really was trying to end people's lives. He don't come from that. Suge came from that, right? Suge came from Compton, the real street. Puff didn't come from that. That's not who he was. He wasn't even really into that until he got into the industry. Like, he wouldn't have even known people like that until he got into the industry. There was a documentary, I'm trying to remember the name of it recently, that tried to allege, like, maybe Puff had something to do with Pac getting murdered. Nah, I just don't believe it. I don't.
And this is where I have to pull the trigger, because obviously this man, and respectfully, Toure, did not even tune in, tap in, put his toe in the pond of the Diddy trial. So I'm just here to remind you guys that Diddy was that type of man. And Diddy could have very well, and I believe was deeply involved, okay, in what happened with not only Tupac Shakur, but the Notorious B.I.G., aka Christopher Wallace, okay? I believe he played in Biggie's Mama Faces, just like he played in a lot of his damn near every artist. Damn near every artist he either stole from or didn't come through with, all right? And this was just this man's nature. And I wanted to go ahead and get into some of those things, okay? Let's take a look at the partial witness list, and then let's get into some things, all right? I'm sorry, sir. I absolutely do not agree with you. I do not agree with you. Let's go ahead and get into this list, you guys. And I'm just going to pause it, right? Is it already paused? Dang. Sorry about that. Let me go ahead and get through this ad. And then we are going to look at the partial list because they don't scroll down. But I'm just giving you information. It's not like I'm trying to give you everything. Like, we're just dibbling and dabbling in this, awaiting the actual trial of Tupac. And I'm not a legal expert in any way, shape, or form, but here we are. Okay. Hold on, y'all. Let me see. All right, so I have paused it. Okay. And the Dwayne PPD Davis trial witness list. And I'm pretty sure this is the top of the list. Now, I think it was once said it was about 200 people. And then I heard 75. So I don't know, but I believe this list is long. I mean, if they say and are estimating that this court case could go on for as long as a month, maybe even longer, I would assume that it would be because they would have to not only get through the evidence, but through all of the people that are on the witness list, right? Let's get into this. We have Marion Suge Knight, which is top on the witness list. Hold on, y'all. And you guys can see that. Okay. We have Oscar Goodman, who was the former Las Vegas mayor and defense attorney. We have Governor Joe Lombardo, police officer at the time. We have Greg Kading. We've heard that name so many times. Former LAPD detective. So he is the LAPD detective. We have Reggie Wright Jr., who we've heard a lot of times because you know why? At the time when this was going on, he was a big name. Like me, myself, I thought Reggie White Jr. did it. I was convinced. I was so convinced. I was convinced that Biggie was involved. Diddy wasn't even a thing back then. I mean, like he is now and all the things that we know about him now. And they may have mentioned him, but I don't really remember focusing on Diddy during this time. And we also have to understand it wasn't in the age of the internet. So we had, a few channels and not even like that. I mean, there was cable and everything like that, but there was just like CNN or Fox or Channel 7 News. And we only had so many avenues that we could go to. It's not like we could plunge ourselves into the internet and look it up ourselves and do our own research and things like that. So, yeah. Okay. And I wasn't walking around with an iPhone. What, an iPhone 001? I didn't have an iPhone. You know what I'm saying? So it was a different day and age. But top of the list for us was Reggie White Jr., y'all. Okay. And there were some other crooked cops in there. I forgot the other guy's name, maybe Jones. I remember Mac, the last name of Mac. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Reggie White Jr. is a former head of security for Death Row Records. Kirk Burroughs was the founder of Bad Boy Records. Paula Clemens was Davis's wife. So his wife, oh my God, his wife is going to come up there. Eugene Jean Deal. What? I thought you said you weren't testifying. Gene Deal is on here. Bro, I thought you said you weren't testifying. Anyways, Gene Deal, who was Diddy's bodyguard up until what, 2014? Yeah. Or 2004, which one was it? I know he worked with him in beginning the early stages of his career. I think it was from 91 to I think 2004, something like that. I may be wrong, but he worked for him for 14 years, whatever the case may be. All right. So he knows a lot about the not so humble beginnings, and he was there for most of these things that we're talking about. Okay, so it makes sense. Yusuf Ja, who was the co-author of Davis's 2019 book, members of the Shakur family, documentarians, and I'm pretty sure that the list goes on. I just wanted to give you guys a sneak peek at this. And hopefully the next time I come live, I will be able to come with the full list for you. Okay. But that's interesting, right? That is interesting. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. You said Reggie told security not to bring guns to Vegas. He stole death row from Suge with help from Suge's wife, who had power in the company, especially while Suge was in prison. Ooh, everybody was dirty, from Jewel to ooh. They made Orlando and Keith patsies. He didn't write that book. Okay, so you believe that he didn't write that book. Hey, what's up, Senecas? Good morning to you too. Thank you so much for tapping in. Child of the Most High says, this guy is completely bamboozled. Puff wanted to be like Suge. Yes, I believe he emulated this. Okay, Puff made it possible because he also a target, and Big was leaving Bad Boy, was going to start a company to compete against him. He wanted Big gone and Suge in jail. Yeah. Okay. Kading got fired for being crooked. He's part of the cover-up. Puff has always been a wannabe and a hater. That's it. Yeah, I believe that too. He inserts himself into everything. And I can't believe most of our celebrities and hip hop stars are a bunch of junkies, okay? Russell Poole, and not everybody, you guys. Don't think I'm blanketing all of hip hop. I mean, there's still some good guys left, right? And there were some good people in hip hop. I'm not saying be whole and to throw the whole hip hop culture away, okay? Russell Poole got fired and taken out of the meeting with the sheriff for exposing LAPD involvement. And we cannot negate the fact that there was some crookedness going on. And the reason why I wanted to bring up Puff Diddy again is because he not only had ties to law enforcement, okay, that's the reason why I included one of these cases from his civil lawsuits in here, okay, because when that white woman, that white girl, okay, I don't even want to say how old she is, child, minor, ran her ass out that house and across the street and next door. Okay? And I think it was the Escondido Police Department. They didn't do a damn thing. Because word was he had some of, I don't know, law enforcement in his pockets. Okay? I'm just putting it out there, you guys. And we know from experience that there is crooked in every level of power. Okay? We know that. Let's not act and pretend like everybody is just, oh, they're just so great. The ABC boys. So, what does it apply to this case? I don't know. But do I know that it exists? Oh, yeah. So that you have to keep that in mind. Okay? Beepers, of course, like, I don't think anybody was rolling around with an iPhone. You know what I'm saying? Not even the Boost Mobile chirp. Where you at? I don't even think that was out yet. Was that out? You know what I'm saying? So we were kind of limited, you guys. What is up, Bria? Thank you so much for coming in. Yep. And he didn't want that to happen. His last big money maker, and literally is still to this day, thanks to alterations in paperwork, supposedly. Popo in his pocket. Yeah, and then also Diddy had ties to the Crips. I don't know about the Bloods, but he had ties to, I don't know what Crips, but he had ties to the Crips, okay? I think it was Cassie that testified. Somebody said it. I think it was Cassie, where he went to the closet and got the pow-pows and was handing them out to the Crips. And the Crips would always come over to his house. Well, gangsters, I'll just say that. Yeah. He had ties to the streets. He had ties to gangs. He had ties to law enforcement. How do you think Diddy got away with this for 3+ decades? He could not have done it alone. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. Okay? He even had an MTV promo commercial promoting the Diddy parties. Okay? So I don't know what you want me to say, but let's go ahead and get into this, you guys. All right. Now, the first thing I want to bring up is the Diddy Trial allegations of AB and assault. Because I don't know why this person, oh, he's not like that. What? Are you cool? Are you cool? I'm going to show you the nature, okay, and the existence of Diddy and how a menace to society he was. And I described exactly what I felt about him, okay? No need to repeat. This was a dangerous man. He was sadistic. He was a bully. He was abusive. He was a womanizer, all right? He was a little OFF and addicted to what's your pleasure? What's your pleasure? I mean, he used to walk around with a fanny pack. Well, not him, but his team used to walk around with a fanny pack. He used to walk around with a little satchel, a little pouch with all of the pills and potions that he needed in order to get through the day. Okay. And let me see. Let's go ahead and get into this. So I can just show you. I can show you guys better than I can tell you. All right. Let me see you guys. Now let's go through to the Diddy indictment case. I'm just going to read through a few of it. It's not like we're going to go through it because it's like 20 pages and things like that. So I'm just going to touch on it. Okay, you guys, just touch on it to give you guys an idea of what we are dealing with, what Tupac was involved in, and what hip hop was doing while we were in the crowd cheering for these people. All right, woo-hoo, supporting these people, lining their pockets, and really it was celebrity worship. Okay. Now let's go ahead and get into this, you guys. Let me make sure you guys can see this too as well. Let me pull this up. And let's get into the Diddy trial allegations of AB, abuse and assault. All right. And like I said, I'm just going to kind of skip through this. As you guys can see, it's official papers, right? You see my source. I'm third party, just reading it like I see it. Okay. Now, racketeering conspiracy, which they did not find him guilty on, but this is the count one. Okay. For decades, Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P. Diddy, aka Diddy, aka whatever. Love, the defendant abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs relied on the employees' resources and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and what happened with his car, push in the air. Okay. Yeah, ran up in that man's house, was waiting for him when he got home. Let me see if this is going to allow me to go. I have so many windows open, you guys. So I have so many windows open, you guys. So it might be slow, so I might have to refresh. Hold on. Let me see if it's going to allow me or not. No, it's not. Let me see, guys. All right, you guys, I want you guys to hold on so I can refresh my screen and I will be right back. Let me go ahead and refresh you guys because the ball of death is spinning. The beach ball of death is spinning right now and not allowing me to go forward. Y'all, let me know when you guys can hear me. I do apologize. Green hearts in the chat when you guys can hear me. I do apologize. For some reason, StreamYard went out and dropped out on me. Let me know when you guys can hear me. Green hearts in the chat. And I apologize for that. Thank you so much, Keisha. Y'all, I do not know why that just blanked out on me. Hold on. Now, let me just read this part in case you guys missed it. Green hearts in the chat when you guys can hear me. I do apologize for that. All right. And I'm just trying to set the tone and the stage for you guys to know what type of person that Diddy was, okay? And how I believe that he was involved in this case, okay? Hold on, y'all. Because I can't hear myself. Hold on. But you guys say you guys can hear me? All right. All right, let's go, you guys. Let me go ahead and bring this up. I'm just going to read one more excerpt of this Diddy indictment. Y'all, let me know if you guys can hear, just to give you guys an idea of where I'm taking this, okay? And let's go ahead and get into this, you guys. All right, so it says, hold on, let me go all the way back up. Because I really just wanted to give you an intro to this indictment and not really get too deep into it. And a lot of times they repeat some of the same things. So if I just read like the first two excerpts of this, you guys should be able to, I should be able to get my point across, okay? Let's see, hold on. All right, so let's just go ahead and read this, right? Let me see. Let me start from here, you guys, all right? Means and methods of the empire, okay? Among the means and methods by which Sean Combs, the defendant, and other members and associates of the Combs enterprise conducted and participated in the conduct of the affairs of the Combs enterprise included the following. Combs and other members and associates of the Combs enterprises wielded the power and prestige of the Combs role as the Combs business to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into Combs' orbit, often under the pretense of a romantic relationship. Combs then used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended acts with male commercial ex workers that Combs referred to as, among other things, freak-offs. Freak-offs were elaborate and produced ex performances that Combs arranged, directed, and masturbated during, and often electronically recorded. In arranging these freak-offs, Combs, with the assistance of his members and associates of the Combs enterprises, transported and caused to be transported commercial ex workers across state lines and internationally. Freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasted multiple days, and often involved multiple commercial ex workers. During these freak-offs, Combs distributed a variety of controlled substances to victims, in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant. Sometimes unbeknownst to the victims, Combs kept videos he filmed of the victims engaging in sex act with the commercial ex workers. After the freak-offs, Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and UGDRE use. Members and associates of Combs enterprises included high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and other Combs businesses employees facilitated the freak-offs by, among other things, booking hotel rooms, for the freak-offs, stocking the hotel rooms in advance with required freak-off supplies, including controlled substances, baby oil, lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. Cleaning the hotel rooms after the freak-offs to try to mitigate wound damage, arranging for travel for victims, commercial ex-workers, and Combs to and from the freak-offs, resupplying Combs with the requested supplies, delivering large sums of cash to Combs to pay the commercial ex-workers, and scheduling the delivery of the IV fluids. In or about March of 2024, during the search of Combs' residence, Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, California law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricants. You guys know those baby oil bottles were spiked. Okay? Combs subjected victims to physical, emotional, wait a minute, let me make sure you guys can hear me. Well, okay. Emotional and verbal abuse to cause the victims to engage in freak-offs. Combs maintained control over his victims through, among other things, physical violence, promises of career opportunities, granting and threatening, withholding financial support, and by other coercive means, including tracking their whereabouts, dictating the victim's appearance, monitoring their medical records, controlling their housing, and supplying them with controlled substances. During and separate from freak-offs, Combs, among other things, hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims at times by their hair. These assaults often resulted in injuries that took days or weeks to heal. Combs also threatened victims' careers and livelihoods, including if they resisted participating in freak-offs. Victims believed that they could not refuse Combs' demands without risking their financial job security or without repercussions in the forms of physical or emotional abuse. Combs also used the sensitive, embarrassing, and incriminating recordings that he made during the freak-offs as collateral to ensure the continued obedience and silence of the victims. Okay, so that's just to give you an idea. Okay, and that's just a few excerpts of the Diddy indictment. This is a 14-page indictment. Okay, I wanted to go ahead and get on to Cassie's testimony. Okay, let me see, y'all. Hold on. Let me see where that is. All right, you guys, let me go ahead and look it up here. Let me see if I can look up Cassie Ventura's testimony here as well. And I want to get into a few excerpts of that, okay? Let me see if it's going to come up, you guys. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this one page. Okay, so Cassie testifies against Diddy. Let's go ahead and bring this up, you guys, because this man was no saint. And I do believe that he had some involvement and he fits the bill. Okay, he was associated with all the people that we talk about. Okay, and he was a big figure in the hip hop world, especially at this specific time in hip hop. Okay. Now, we all remember the infamous video of him at the Los Angeles hotel in March, I think, of 2016, kicking and striking and beating and throwing glass vases. A little bit of her testimony. Let's see, you guys. Hold on. They have a lot on here, y'all, that keeps on going. All right. Now, Ventura says it, let's see. Okay, happening now. Cassie Ventura was on the stand. Cassie Ventura, the former girlfriend of Sean Diddy Combs and one of the accusers, is testifying in the federal criminal trial. She described Combs as controlling and said some of their arguments would get violent and result in physical abuse, leaving her with injuries. Okay. Ventura said if Combs disapproved of her, his staff would take away her belongings. Cassie Ventura testified that if Sean Diddy Combs disapproved of her, he had his staff take away her belongings. I quote, I would get my car taken away. I got kicked out of the house, my apartment. I had jewelry taken away. It was very random depending on how he felt. Ventura said that there were times when Combs personally took her electronics from her, and other times his security personnel did it. She eventually would get the items back. It depended on how long I was punished for, I guess. Ventura said Sean would give them back to me if I would go to his house. She also said that her self-worth took a hit. Ventura describes how Combs frequently commented on her appearance. Okay. Cassie Ventura testified that Sean Diddy Combs was very involved in her physical appearance and started making comments about the way she looked almost immediately into the relationship. Appearance was very important to him. My appearance, she said, adding to Combs, would make comments about her hair, her nails. We had tons of conversations about my body at the time. She testified that included discussions about breast implants, keeping my shape a certain way. She said, my self-worth took a hit for in the entirety of the relationship, just trying to establish who I was, who I wanted to be, and who I was allowed to be, Ventura said. Okay. She mentioned that Ventura's manager had one hand tied behind his back with decisions going through Combs, she says. Cassie Ventura was back on the stand. Let me see. Cassie Ventura's husband was allowed to be in court for part of her testimony. Here's what we know about him. We're not going to really get into that. Okay. Let me see. His name is Alex Fine. Okay. Now, she eventually got with him. And let me see. Let's see, you guys. We're going to move past that because I don't want to get too deep into everything. I really want to kind of touch on this. Now, testimony. Cassie Ventura, Sean Diddy Combs' former girlfriend, took the stand this morning in the government's ex-trafficking case against the music mogul. She entered the courtroom with her eyes facing forward, passing by the jury box to the witness stand. Combs, who was seated, turned around in his chair and watched Ventura walk to her seat. She did not appear to make eye contact with him as she testified. Ventura dabbed her nose and eyes at times. As a reminder, before we get into her testimony, some of the details below are graphic. Combs had pleaded not guilty to the charges that included racketeering, conspiracy, ex-trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution, which the latter was what he was found guilty of and received 50 months, okay? They did not get him on the racketeering, just want to make that clear. Here's what we learned from her testimony. Early stage of relationship, when asked how she knew Combs, Ventura said, we were in a relationship for a little over 10 years. She testified that their relationship started platonically when she was signed to his Bad Boy Records in 2006, when she was 19 years old at the time. She later told the court that she was really confused the first time Combs kissed her while celebrating her 21st birthday in Las Vegas, okay? There were different sides of Diddy. Ventura testified that she was initially enamored by Combs, but then saw a different side to him. She described him as a fun guy who also happened to have my career in his hands, saying he called all the shots while she was younger. Non-monogamous relationships. Combs had many girlfriends, Ventura said, adding that their relationship wasn't public for years. Later in the testimony, she said that she thought that they were a monogamous relationship, but quickly realized that they weren't. Her description of the freak-offs: within the first year of our relationship, he proposed this idea, this sexual encounters, that he entered into voyeurism, where he would watch me be in intercourse with a third party, specifically with another man. She testified in court. She said she didn't feel like she could refuse them, adding that Combs controlled a lot of her life. Now, the allegations of AB, okay? Ventura said some of their arguments would be violent and result in some sort of physical abuse. He would smash me in my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in my head if I was down. Ventura said of her relationship with Combs, she said she experienced mood swings, and if she didn't answer her phone, he would call her incessantly or send staff to find her. Keeping broken devices. Ventura revealed in court that she kept broken laptops, iPads, phones, because she didn't know exactly what was on them and feared blackmail materials would become public. All right, so that just gives you guys an idea. All right, now I wanted to get into that. Should be horrible enough, right? Let me get to the comments to see what you guys are saying. That is absolutely horrible, you guys. All right, absolutely horrible. Now let's go ahead and get into this manipulation. Of course, yes, makes me sick to the stomach too. All right. Somebody said Russell got zapped with the heart attack machine, and what? And then he said, and then he had a heart attack. Oh my God. Let me see. Beepers, payphones, and cars with mobile phones with cords inside of them. I'm late. My bad. Welcome. Okay. Let me see. Let's see what you guys are saying. Somebody said, no wonder he watched. Yeah, they called him Tootsie Roll. Y'all know that, right? His manhood was the size of a Tootsie Roll. He couldn't really perform. He was on all those D-rugs, right? And so he would be voyeur. He would hire ex-workers to engage in sexual acts with Cassie, and he would watch and masturbate and do all. It's sickening, you guys, okay? He recorded to blackmail people after, and he recorded everywhere, okay? And this kind of turned against him because once they raided his home and seized all of the recording devices and everything that he had, you know, the police have that, right? Along with the dope and the guns and the drugs and oh yeah, he involved. He is definitely involved. Now, I wanted to get to the part where she speaks on her friend, okay? And this is the propensity of his violence and how unpredictable Diddy was, okay? On top of not being all the way there, okay? And being addicted to a plethora of narcotics, okay? As well as alcohol, okay? And this is how he fueled his freak-offs. He had his own little satchel that he would carry around because he was addicted. So he was using all day. And then he got a lot of other people addicted because of what I just forementioned, right? When he did the freak off. Some of them didn't even know that they were going to be Ugdre, okay? Because it was in the baby oil. So what he would do was rub the baby oil, and then they would start feeling woozy, be out, and then next day wake up with all kind of stuff stuck in all kind of holes, right? Or sore AF. Yeah, y'all. So I don't want to hear anything about, oh, it's not his type. Oh, he wouldn't do anything like that. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. Let me see. I want to get into the part where she testifies about her friend, but I also have her friend too, okay? The story on her friend as well, but I think that she testifies to that time that he dangled her friend over a 17th floor balcony, okay, after throwing her into the patio furniture and effed up her back. I mean, this man was unpredictable. He was violent. All right. And I think maybe worse than Suge. But you know, Suge, this was Suge's MO too. And it's funny how we have just these three men left and they're all incarcerated. Okay. They are all incarcerated, you guys. Hold on, let me see. Oh, it's not in here. Okay, so this is just the testimony on her and her relationship with Diddy, but let's go ahead and get into it because I already have it pulled up. Okay, let's get into the testimony of Cassie's friend. Now, you know, they all was doing UGDRAs, okay? Each, damn near everybody, all right? But let's go ahead and get into this, you guys. Hold on. And I'm going to bring this up for you. Smash that like button, you guys. Subscribe. And share out this live. I really appreciate it. Everybody that's in the chat. Let's go ahead and get into this. Now, Cassie's friend's name was Brianna Bongolan. And she testified in the trial, okay, that Diddy once violently picked her up and held her over a 17th floor balcony where she could have easily slipped out of his hands and plunged to her death. Okay, this is how dangerous this man was. So I don't want to hear, oh, that's not his MO. Oh, he would never do this. I don't believe he was involved in ordering the hit on Tupac. Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and get into this. Let me make sure that you guys can see this too as well. And let's get into this. All right. Now, let me see. This is courtesy of Courthouse News Service, okay? Now, fashion designer testifies Diddy dangled her over the 17th story ledge in LA. Y'all see that building? I'm just wondering. Okay. Let's go ahead and get into this. And this is her recollection of being held over a balcony railing in a 2024 civil lawsuit. We're getting into the civil lawsuits that he has. And I definitely am going to show you the list of over 60 people that he is going to be having to face once he gets out of prison. Okay, it's never going to be over. All right, and with this Tupac trial, how is he going to be involved? Right? I don't know. I don't even know how that works. Now I know that they can take you from jail and have you testify. I know that they can put charges on you while you're doing time because they're about to do it with Suge Knight, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this, you guys. This was June 4th, 2025. This is when this was published. And let's go ahead and get into it. And I want you guys to take a good look at that building. Okay? All right. This was a high-rise apartment at 875 Comstock Avenue in Los Angeles. Or was it, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was, I don't know. I don't know where this was. I don't know if it was in LA. Did I say LA? Yeah, in LA. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into this. Sean Diddy Combs once violently picked up one of his girlfriend, Cassie's close friends, and held her aloft on the 17th floor balcony of a high-rise condo in Los Angeles' posh Wilshire corridor. Fashion designer Brianna Bongolan testified on Wednesday. During direct questioning by the federal prosecutors, Bongolan testified that in September of 2016, Combs charged at her on the balcony of singer Cassie Ventura's 17th story apartment and hoisted her on top of the railing. She said the music mogul reportedly yelled, "You know what the F you did," while he held her up from behind by her ribs and underneath her armpits. She said he picked her up for 10 to 15 seconds before he violently slammed her down onto the patio furniture. Bongolan testified on Wednesday that she is 5'1", but said it was difficult for her to pinpoint her exact weight at the time due to her her contemporaneous drug use, right? They all were just like gone. They all were addicts, okay? When they would get together, that's one of the things that addicts do is they do substances together, okay? She estimated she weighed between 100 and 115 pounds during the incident, while her November 2024 civil lawsuit over the same incident claimed she was 4 feet 11 inches tall and weighing under 100 pounds at the time. She testified that she felt stressed after she heard Combs banging on the door to Ventura's apartment shortly before the balcony incident and decided to hide her then girlfriend in the bathroom to spare her from the exposure to the anticipated violent outburst of Combs. Prosecutors showed photos of Bongolan's injuries from the incident, including a large bruising and contusion on her upper leg. Another photo showed her wearing a neck brace with bandages on her back. Early in her testimony, she recalled Combs once randomly threatened to unalive her during a beach photo shoot. He approached her and said to her something along the lines of, "I'm the devil and I could unalive you," Bongolan testified. She said she couldn't say whether or not Combs was high during the beach incident, but said it was likely she had done cocaine that day. "I was terrified," she recalled, "but because of the cocaine, I had little confidence and just brushed it off. Ventura referenced the balcony incident in her bombshell civil lawsuit filed in November 2023. Mr. Combs was severely intoxicated at one point during the night, picked up one of Mrs. Ventura's friends like a child and dangled the friend over the balcony of the 17th floor hotel suite. Ventura claimed in her since settled civil complaint, that's what she said, Miss Ventura, I quote, and her friends were scared by Mr. Combs' erratic behavior, but Miss Ventura was heavily sedated because of the drugs she took to participate in the freak-offs and therefore was unable to respond to Miss Combs' terrifying behavior. Bongolan testified Wednesday that Cassie's memory of the events as she portrayed in her civil suit had been skewed due to her drug habits at the time, including inaccurate details in the lawsuit, such as it not happening in the hotel and Ventura having the date wrong. Okay, Bongolan says she decided to get clean after she stayed up all night during UGG with Combs and Ventura on New Year's Eve at one hotel in Miami South Beach, including 8 hours of ketamine, a dissociative anesthetic that has some hallucinogen effects. They were on the good stuff, okay? They were on hallucinating stuff, okay? It goes on to say, asked by federal prosecutors if she experienced last effects from the balcony incident with Combs, Bongolan softly replied, "Yes, I have nightmares and I have a lot of paranoia," she testified. "I used to scream a lot in my sleep, but it dissipated a little bit." She said she didn't experience those symptoms prior to the balcony incident with Combs. Bongolan was questioned on the cross-examination by Combs' defense attorney, Nicole Westmoreland, who also handled the cross-examination of the prosecution witness, Don Ricard, I think, earlier in the trial. Westmoreland grilled Bongolan on whether or not she told the prosecutors about the "I'm the devil and I will unalive you" incident at the beach photo shoot when she met them. Westmoreland asked Bongolan if she recalled telling the federal investigators in the pretrial interviews that Combs said "I will unalive you" during the balcony incident. The defense attorney also brought up inconsistencies between her trial testimony and her civil sexual battery lawsuit, which had accused Combs of groping her breast just before he hung her off the balcony banister. Westmoreland also asked Bongolan whether Ventura witnessed Combs holding her over the balcony railing and slamming her onto the deck furniture, or has only seen the aftermath after Bongolan was tossed back down. Combs, 55, is a standing trial on a 5-count indictment, charging him with racketeering, conspiracy, ex-trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution, okay? If convicted on all charges, he faces up to a minimum of 15-year sentence and a maximum of sentence of life. He pleaded not guilty, right? We know all about that. So this is an incident that kind of went under the radar if you weren't following the Diddy trial. But I am here to remind you of the monster that is Diddy, and that he is fully capable of being deeply involved in this hip hop scandal, the Tupac trial, the Tupac case, and one of the main characters in the reason why not only Tupac is not here, but Biggie and a plethora of, and a few dozen other people, y'all. You don't want me to get deep, but this is what I wanted to show you guys, okay? And I was really compelled by what I heard Toure say in the Stephen A. Smith interview. Like, bro, are you okay? Are you here? Are you here? Right? All right, so now let us move on to another lawsuit, civil lawsuit, okay? The Little Rodney Jones lawsuit, okay? And we're going to get into what Rodney Jones had to say, but it was something that he said that happened during his time, because he was an artist, all right? He was doing music. Something that happened during his time that he witnessed with Diddy, okay? That is kind of important for me to show you guys, all right? So I'm going to tell you about the Little Rodney Jones. We're going to get into that a little bit, his lawsuit, because I feel that it's important, because he also was a victim. But what he saw in September of 2022 is really going to bring my point home on the violent man and the ability that Diddy had to take someone's life or order a life taken. Don't play with me, okay? Let's go ahead and get into this, all right? The Rodney Jones versus Sean Combs lawsuit, okay? Hold on. Because it has this, hold on, you guys. Let's go ahead and start. Is this the front of it? Okay, hold on. Because I got to give you guys a little insight of him, okay? There's pictures involved. There's pictures here too. We're going to skim through the pictures. But just let me, if you're not privy or don't know anything about the Rodney Jones lawsuit, I do want to introduce you to that. Oh, I was on the page that I wanted. Okay, so let's go ahead and go down. You know, this was his right-hand woman who was involved in damn near everything. Cuba Gooding Jr. was also named in this. Lucian Grange was also named in this. Y'all, this goes. Justin Combs is also a defendant in this, y'all. This rabbit hole goes deep, okay? But let's go ahead and get into exactly what the lawsuit is, okay? Hold on, I want to make sure I'm at the top. And you guys see these are verified documents, okay? You can go and look these up. I encourage you to do your own research, all right? And come to your own conclusion. Now, let's go ahead and get into this. Now, plaintiff Rodney Little Rod Jones hereby alleges as and for his complaint against the defendant Sean Combs and defendant Justin Dior Combs, defendant Lucian Charles Grange, defendant Cuba Gooding Jr., defendant Christina Coram, who was Diddy's right-hand man or woman, defendant Love Records, defendant Motown Records, defendant Universal Music Group, defendant Combs Global Enterprises, Jane and John Doe's 1 through 10 ABC corporations. He's suing every damn body. Okay? Let's go ahead and get into this. Excuse me, you guys. All right, so hold on. All right. Now, let's see. Okay, we're not going to go through that. I just want to kind of give you the legalese of what's happening with him. Let's see where that is. Let me see where I can start at, right? I don't think this is where it starts. jurisdiction and venue. No. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. I'm gonna have to go down a little bit. But the plaintiff is Rodney Jones. He's an American artist and music producer. Mr. Jones is domiciled in the state of New York. Okay, so he filed this in the state of New York. The defendant is Sean Combs. He's a rapper and a record executive, popular, known by his stage names. Okay, so we know who Diddy is, all right? And also defendant Justin Dior Combs, okay? He is also involved in this. So he got his children involved, all right? Also involved is defendant Lucian Charles Grange, who is the CEO defendant of the Universal Music Group, okay? Little information about that. Also, Cuba Gooding Jr., who is a defendant, was relevant actor who has fallen from grace due to several sexual assault lawsuits and recent guilty plea for sexual assault, okay? Christina Quorum, who was the chief of staff to Sean Diddy Combs, she did all the dirt. She hit all the bones, hit all the bodies, and I mean that figuratively. But she was the muscle. She was the machine directly behind Sean Diddy Combs, okay? She knows where the bodies are buried because she buried them. Christina Quorum, chief of staff to Sean Diddy Combs, Global Enterprises, all right? And it's showing where she lives and all that. And we see everybody that's involved. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. These are all the people that are involved that he is suing, okay? Let's see. All right, so, you know, Rodney Jones, he played instruments. They're giving a little bit of his history, his backstory. But let's get to his involvement with Diddy, okay? Let me see. Let's see. Okay, summary of events from September 2022 to September 23. Mr. Jones produced 9 songs on Mr. Combs' Love album from September 2022 to 2023. Mr. Jones lived with Mr. Combs for months, spending holidays, birthdays, and missing major family events. Mr. Jones resided at Mr. Combs' residence in Los Angeles, California, and Miami, California. He spent several weeks on a yacht rented by Mr. Combs in the U.S. Virgin Islands and St. Barthélemy. As detailed below, Mr. Jones made several trips with Mr. Combs to New York throughout his time living with him. Throughout his time with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones witnessed, experienced, and endured many things that went far beyond his role as a producer on the Love album. The claims raised in this complete complaint has been corroborated through witness statements, video, audio recordings, personal experiences, and images Mr. Jones possessed. And boy, he showed a lot. Okay, Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to record him constantly. On several occasions, Mr. Combs took Mr. Jones' cell phones and began recording himself. As a result, Mr. Jones has secured hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, and his guests engaging in serious illegal activity, which he has hundreds of hours. Okay. Mr. Jones has personally witnessed and secured irrefutable evidence, the acquisition and use of distribution of ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and shrooms, okay? The displaying and distribution of unregistered illegal firearms. Mr. Combs provided laced alcoholic beverages to minors, LA home, July 2023, and ex-workers at his home in California, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Florida, and St. Bartholomew. Mr. Combs and Chief of Staff Christina Quorum instructs her staff to retrieve UGG trays so they can provide them to Mr. Combs for his consumption. Christian Combs UGG trade and sexually assaulted a woman. Mr. Combs details how he plans to leverage his relationship with Bishop T.D. Jakes to soften the impact on his public image of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit. Young Miami's cousin or assistant sexually assaulting Mr. Jones. You didn't think she was involved, right? Actor Cuba Gooding Jr. actually harassing and assaulting Mr. Jones. Rapper redacted on Mr. Combs' yacht consorting with underage girls, ex-workers, and R&B singer. They redacted his name in Mr. Combs' Los Angeles home, consorting with underage girls and ex-workers. Okay. Now, this is the incident that I wanted to bring to you guys. A very, very violent incident. And this should be the final nail in my coffin in proving to you guys that this man is extremely violent and capable of any and everything that we could ever imagine, and definitely being involved in the TUPAC Shakur case. Okay. Let's get into this. The Chalice Recording Studio Balcony shooting. Okay. Now, on or about September 12th, let me make sure you guys can hear me. On or about September 12th, 2022, Mr. Combs held a writers and producers camp at Chalice Recording Studio at 845 Highland Avenue, Los Angeles, California, 90038. Mr. Combs and his son, Justin Combs, and Justin's friend, G, were present at this camp. Based on the information and belief that Mr. G is a 30-year-old tall African-American male, based on the information and belief, in addition to these individuals, other musicians were present at the camp. The writer has spoken to several musicians who attended the camp. One evening during the camp, Mr. Combs, J. Combs, and G were in a heated conversation. The conversation was moved out of the studio and into the restroom adjacent to where Mr. Jones was sitting. Let's get into this. Mr. Jones was approximately 2 feet away from the bathroom when he heard pow pows rang out. Mr. Jones recalls hearing multiple pow pows. Mr. Jones immediately went into a state of shock and feared that he would be pow powed next. Mr. Jones generally believed that he would be pow powed through the door due to how close he was. After the pow powing ended, a crowd gathered around the restroom. Upon information and belief, when the door finally opened, Mr. Combs and Justin Combs exited. G was lying on the bathroom floor in a fetal position, holding his stomach and bleeding out his torso and leg hip area. Everyone stood around looking upon G. Frustrated by the lack of aid to G, Mr. Jones dropped everything, ran to G, and immediately began placing pressure on the pow pow wounds to his torso. As he was applying the pressure to his torso, Mr. Jones realized that G was gushing blood from another area near his leg hip. He decided to lift G and placed him to sit on the toilet. Mr. Jones asked the crowd to call the ambulance. Mr. Jones lifted G and brought him to the ambulance at the front of the studio. At this time, Mr. Combs and Justin disappeared to another part of the studio. Mr. Combs gave strict instructions to inform the police that he had nothing to do with the pow powing. He also forced Mr. Jones to lie to the police and tell them that the G was pow powed standing outside of the studio by drive-by assailants. Did you get all that? Did you get all of that? Now do you believe me? Because I think I've proven my point. I think I've proven my point. Okay? I think I've proven, I can't show you guys. I think I've proven my point. You guys can come here. Okay? You guys can come here and see the graphic photos. I can't even go any further because there's graphic photos right there. Yeah. See for yourself. When you look at the aftermath of that bathroom, you come back here and tell me if Diddy is capable of what we're saying he's capable of. Just look up the Rodney Jones versus Sean Combs lawsuit and scroll your ass on down. Get it, got it, good. Okay? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the way it is, y'all. That is the way that it is. Okay? What is up, Taisha? What's up? What's up? Thank you so much. So you guys saw that, right? Y'all saw that, right? I'm just saying, y'all. It's okay. This man is dangling people off of balconies. This man is pow-powing people in the stomach and running into other parts of the studio. And he got away with this because it was an intricate net of people that protected this man and cooperated with him and allowed him to get away with this for so long. Right? I don't know, you guys. I mean, I think that this case is most likely going to start Monday because they have a lot of witnesses potential jurors to get through. I think it's 75 of them. They have a lot of potential jurors to get through. Okay. And we will be here once the trial starts. Okay. I think it's just important that we explore some of this information and basically paint the picture of these characters that are going to be involved. Now, will they call Diddy to testify? Will he be involved actually in the case? Because right now, he's just in the conversations, right? He's not in any of the papers where he's going to actually be on the witness list or be called or anything like that. So I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying that there's a possibility and that this man is capable of what he's been accused of. And he is definitely capable of what we think that he can also do. Now, if you guys didn't know, he did his artists so wrong. He left a stain not only on Generation X, but on the hip hop community and hip hop culture as well. Because when you think about it, and you think about the younger generation looking back at hip hop and where it started, which are now pioneers who are 40, 45, 50 and up, right? I think the Generation X is 45 to 60 years old right now. Okay. And I mean, once you lose respect from a generation that comes after you, that's when things start to crumble, right? And I'm not saying hip hop is dead, but a lot of our pioneers are dead. And it's not just, old age, they had a heart attack. No. No, it goes deeper than that. And that's sad, you guys, right? It really is. Now, it's not a reflection on all of us. I get it. And it's not a reflection on all hip hop artists and things like that. I'm not saying there's no good and there's nothing left and that hip hop is dead. But this tainted the history of hip hop to look back and see our pioneers and the things that they were doing for decades. It puts a damper on the parade, right? When you talk about don't rain on my parade, well, I think it's a little too late, but I'm not going to let somebody piss on me and tell me it's rain either. We're not that's what we're not going to do. That's what we're not going to do. Okay. And Diddy has attacked everybody from his artists to the women in his life, to his baby mamas, to, I mean, the current president. Okay. He went on a rant even about President Trump. So I'm done, you guys. I've given you everything that I came here for. I hope that I proved that for you guys. And we already know that, Suge wasn't a good guy either. Okay. And maybe on the next live, I will dive into that too as well. But y'all, this is where we're at. This is where we are at. Okay. And I can tell you, up until Diddy was arrested, this is why I feel like he's not going to be rehabilitated, and it's just not going to be looking good for him. Is because, like I said, up until the time that this man was arrested, he was doing the same thing, you guys. All right. He still had his little bag of tricks. They found baby oil in the bathtub of his hotel room. Yeah. Yes. Like, what are we talking about here? Okay. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, guys. Now, before I leave, I do want to show you guys this. Hold on. Because if you guys don't know what was in his hotel room, let me show you exactly what they found when they arrested him since he's been locked up, okay? Let's just go ahead and get into this before I let you go. I feel like I need to show you that. Hold on, y'all. Let me go ahead and pull this up because I want to show you. This man did not stop. He knew that the ABC boys was on his ass. They had already stopped him before. They just didn't arrest him. They kind of, I think, talked to him, questioned him, then let him go. And he still was doing the same thing. Just shameful, y'all. Just shameful. So let me give you a sneak peek into exactly what his hotel room looked like. Okay. We're going to get into this before we get out of here. All right. Hold on, y'all. Let me see, guys. All right. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Let me just show y'all, okay? Let me make sure you guys can see this too as well. And let me go ahead and scroll down. Now, y'all take a look at this, okay? Our source is USA Today. Diddy's trial, Dre's baby oil and photos from his hotel room after his 2024 arrest. You guys take a look at this. Take a look at this. Okay, as Sean Diddy Combs' criminal trial entered its third week on May 19, 2025, prosecutors released images of the belongings found in his hotel room after the embattled music mogul was arrested at a New York hotel. Okay, scroll on for the items investigators discovered, including baby oil, lubricant, prescription medication, and Dre's that tested positive for ketamine and MDMA. All right. You guys see these pictures. These are government exhibits. This man was still having freak offs with his whole freedom dangling before him. I can't make this up, guys. I can simply not make this up. All right. Hold on, y'all. Let me see. Can you guys see this? Let me know if you guys can see this. Why is this not scrolling, y'all? Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to scroll up, but it's not scrolling. All right, you guys, let's keep going. Y'all see it though, right? I don't know what the holdup is, y'all. Why is this doing this? Y'all see that baby oil that they found? Look at that. Look at that, you guys. Look. Multiple bottles of Johnson & Johnson were found. Look, this was in the tub. In the sink. Now, that's his little bag that he would carry around. You see that right there? That was his bag of tricks, you guys. Right there. That was his bag of tricks. And you think this is a changed man? You think that this is a changed man? One of Combs' nightstands. You guys see it. I just wanted to give you a little look-see, okay? I just wanted to give you a little look-see so that we know what we're dealing with. And this man is fully capable of the things that we are saying he's capable of. Y'all see it. I can't make this up. I can't make this up. This is wild, y'all. This was right after his arrest when he had already been questioned, stopped and questioned, and he still was doing this shit. Okay? Just wanted to make sure that you guys see it with your own eyes. You're seeing it with your own eyes. Okay? A closer look at the items found in Combs' nightstand drawer. This is all government exhibits, you guys. It's all, what is it called? Evidence. All evidence. All evidence. Okay? So, I mean, I just wanted to show you. Bottle of medication left, filled with pink substances. One bag tested positive for ketamine, the other mixture. You guys see what it is. I'm just showing y'all. But yeah, this is who we're dealing with. This is who we are dealing with. Okay? Wow, y'all. I mean, that's about it. You guys got it. Mouthwash, deodorant, lighter appears to be sitting on the counter. Y'all, I don't know what else to say about this whole situation. I honestly don't know what else to say. But I believe I've proven my point. Okay. And really laid it out for you guys. So we don't want to hear no more of nobody talking about, oh, he's not capable of that. Really? Really? The Chalice incident? the Wilshire incident with the 17th, with him dangling somebody over the ledge, his attack on, you guys see the Astro Guide, his attack on Cassie. I don't know. Blowing up Kid Cudi's car. I don't know. And all of the other things that he's tied to. Shakir Stewart, Kim Porter, Wolf, who was a security back in the 90s, and allegedly was Justin Combs' father. Yeah, y'all. It gets crazy. But let me come back here, you guys. Hold on. You guys let me know what you guys think about the whole situation. Let me know what you think about the whole situation, okay? I know, crazy, right? Oh my God, why did that do that? Okay. All right, you guys. All right, so that's all I have. Let me give a shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Said brokenhearted. He left them down and out. Yeah, he did. He left a lot of his artists down and out, and then finally gave them back their publishing or their what is it, their rights or something like that. And it was nothing for them to benefit off of. You know, not their publishing rights, but their rights to their, what is it called? Their masters, like their master and their rights back. He gave it back too little, too late. Okay. He was doing a documentary at the same time too. SMH. Yeah. Hey girl, what's up, Tanya? Thank you so much for tapping in. Taisha Moss, thank you. Crazy work. Yeah. Thank you, Miss Blaine. You're definitely on point. Thank you. Thank you so much. Shout out to you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Shout out to Keisha, Taisha. Thank you guys so much. Allie, shout out to you. Shout out to you, Brandon Jones. There's no soliciting in the chat. I don't have anything, but thank you for stopping in. Tanya Knight, Allie, Nigel Wild. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Keisha. Shout out to you guys. All right. Allie, Child of the Most High. I'm scared to push anything because this shit's moving so crazy. Bria, shout out to you guys. I really, really appreciate you. Benjamin, shout out to you for stopping through. Two Senecas, always a pleasure. Seth Kinney, I appreciate you all. If I didn't catch you on this one, I will definitely catch you on the next one. John Mays, thank you for the 2 jewels. I really, really appreciate you guys for stopping in and giving your perspective. I will be back with another video, you guys. Shout out to NY Girl 50 in the building. Thank you, thank you, thank you, you guys. I will see you guys on the next video. All right. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, America.
Say in the beginning, I thought Mr. Bentley was the coolest person in the world. I'm talking about the coolest person in the world. And then eventually, you know, Bentley started stealing. You dig? And one time, we got our advance check. You dig? And I went and got this chain. I asked him, can he hold my chain? I had a show. We had a show. And I asked Mr. Bentley, can he hold my chain? And he was like, yeah, I got you. And then he never quite gave me back my chain. And then every time I asked him, he always came up with buku excuses of why why I can't get my chain. And ever since then, I knew right then and there, you heard me, what kind of dude Mr. Bentley was. A fucking thief. Mr. Bentley is a fucking thief, period. Period. And that was his reputation too around there, you dig? Everybody knew Mr. Bentley was a thief. He used to steal shit. Maybe he was stealing shit, you know, because Diddy probably wasn't compensating him. Embarrassing the man on national TV, not really paying him what he, you dig, needed to pay him. And at that time, yeah, he stole my shit. And he was known for stealing. So it is what it is. I don't think Diddy had no respect for Mr. Bentley. None.
The chain he stole, how much was it?
$72,000. Yeah.
Bentley.
A little bit better, and it's helpful that we will have her in there because we need to keep her and him accountable, and at least we have somebody that we could dialogue with, somebody that we could relate to in office. But his cabinet is going to have to reflect that, and that's why our Black Party is going to keep that pressure on. He has 4 years of pressure as we mobilize and we build this thing. We're going to be in their face, in the administration's face, talking about our agenda.
I refuse to believe that nobody from that camp reached out to you.
The regular, just the regular ways of, wanting to get celebrities to support it. It's not just about this election. I'm trying to come up with a solution for future elections.
So when you said hold your vote, they reached out and they was like, well, how can we get you on board? How can we get you on?
I didn't have conversations. I don't really like, really getting on the phone and talking to politicians. I didn't meet and really talk to Obama until after he was out of office. So with politics, I try to stay away from that. It's like Trump's camp tried to reach out. But my thing wasn't, how can I get one of them in office? My thing is, how can I end this black insanity of us continuing to be a part of a team that doesn't love us? How can we create our own team?
Let me ask you a question. Will voting prevent bloodshed? Meaning like, okay, we get Trump out. Will that prevent bloodshed?
The only thing that will prevent bloodshed is if they stop killing us. I don't think that us as a people can handle like one more hashtag. I know we're at the breaking point. There's a new Negro, and that new Negro, that new black person is not scared, is not fearful. They're not afraid to die. They understand that this is life and that violence has to be an option. What will give us some time to really step into the momentum of the unity and love is let's get Trump out of office. If Trump's in office, there's gonna be bloodshed.
Well, then you're gonna have Trump's supporters who pissed off that he's not in there no more. So they're gonna get buck regardless.
Yeah, if they get buck,
we got a duck.
No, if they get buck, I wish they would.
Word.
If they get buck, we're gonna eat their arms off. We're not gonna keep on playing with these people. We have one job first right now, and that's to get Trump out of office. And then what we could do that is a nonviolent action is we could mobilize and organize politically.
Yeah, when you keep talking about mobilizing and organizing, that's literally all you've been doing your entire career, though.
Yes.
Like, you mobilize people to go to the liquor store. You mobilize people to buy records. You mobilize people, to buy clothes. Like, you should be able to do that when it comes to politics.
You have a lot of scary people. People are with, incremental change. That's not going to get us anywhere. If we stay on this trajectory, in 30 years, we'll have zero wealth. And all of that is tied back to if we unify. If we don't unify politically, we don't unify economically, and most importantly, we don't unify in love, then we're not going to last. They have us on a planned trajectory for 30 years for my daughters and sons to be broke. Everybody to be broke, like zero wealth.
I wonder if we should be the ones having these conversations, or should we be standing by the people who really, really do this for a living and empowering them?
When I build my businesses, I put best in class in there. So our Black Party is going to have best in class in all areas. People from our community. He wasn't born independent, he was born black. And we have to seize our political power. because it'll just be more of the same. Being pushed this way, being pushed that way, and we expecting
a different result.
But the definition of insanity is like doing the same thing over and over the same way, expecting a different result, and it's not going to happen. So we have to change the tone. We got to start with us stepping up and really taking the responsibility and accountability to be a part of this political movement.
The hardest part of that is going to be getting other black people to buy into it.
This is not for all black people. You know what I'm saying? This is not for the none of us expected. I think this president has done a great job of rattling America. When you move in fear, you don't have any leverage. The way I felt before is the way I still feel. Things have got too serious of a point. Seeing what's going on, white men like Trump need to be banished. That way of thinking is real dangerous. This man literally threatened the lives of us and our families about going to vote.
Stand back and stand by.
Stand back and stand by.
Yeah.
We're in a war. We're not taking this like it's a war. We're taking this like, oh, we're in a presidential election. No, we're in a war of love versus hate. The number one priority is to get Trump out of office. The tribe of people that have the responsibility and really should be scared to death of this man is white people.
Explain.
If this man is elected, we're not standing by no more getting killed. We're not scared of anybody standing up and standing by. We're on the verge of a race war. If people in America want a race war, they'll not vote. I'm an independent, first of all. When I vote, I try to do what's best for my community.
Let's be clear on that. You're not standing behind your decision to hold your vote anymore.
That subscribe button. Let's go. So, what we know is that Kim Porter was coming out allegedly with the tell-all book that would tell all of Diddy's secrets, right? I'm sure Miami knows this because when I look at Miami in the situation, a lot of times it makes me think of Kim Porter. And I wanted to say, like, maybe is she the new Kim Porter? Okay. Is she the one that now has to strap it on, to please Diddy? I know they say that she was getting an allowance for $500K, right? But it was reduced to $250. Who cares? What is behind that? What is that price tag? What are the duties that are behind that $250K price tag per month? Okay. Is she the one that has to strap on now? I don't know, but let's not get off the subject. Now, what stands out to me, so the book is to come out, right? But we know that Kim shared this information with others, okay? Shakir Stewart, rest in peace. But at the time, if you guys remember, Diddy broke up with Kim to get with J-Lo. It was around 98, right? They stayed together around 2 years. Remember, there was a shooting while J-Lo was dating Diddy. Those who remember it was serious at the time, and Shine got 9 years behind that pow-pow at that club. He went back to Kim. I guess Kim took him back, right? But at that time, when he was getting back with her, he found out that she was dating, and rightfully so, Shakir Stewart. Now, if you guys don't know who Shakir Stewart is, he was a big, powerful name in the music industry, right? Now, he put out big names, and he was behind. He warned him. Beyonce, he warned him to leave Sierra Kim alone. So and no others. I don't know if he decided to leave Kim alone, but I know the next year after that, he came up unalive, y'all.
So she had a lot of stories to tell. And when I went shopping with Puff before, and I'm talking about when I was doing bodyguarding him and he was getting those butt plugs.
But he's picking up those butt plugs, and I like, what the hell is you getting this for, man? And he was like, can I do my shopping by myself? Okay, But when he was getting those butt plugs, I know Kim had something to do with that. Because that night at the Swiss Hotel, they were in full effect.
Houses don't get broken into in Hollywood like that. They got all kind of surveillance. They got security and everything like that. They know exactly where those things at. Those iClouds and they know exactly. They could find out where those things are at. If she was doing, if she was writing it, they was doing it in Google Docs, Word, some stuff like that. That shit is still out there and it could be pulled out the sky.
You could lose your whole computer. If her kids then wanted to do an investigation and wanted to see what was on those documents that was in that computer, all that shit is right there for them to get it. When they try to say the stuff is missing and everything like that, don't believe that the physical of it is missing. But everything that comes over this air, everything that you type, everything that you see, because see, when you're doing a book and you're working with somebody, I don't believe, I could be wrong, I don't believe that Kim was writing that book without some guidance from somebody.
She was last seen looking happy and healthy with her ex and their children at this event just 16 days before her death.
When I was having issues, my man Derek, you know what I'm saying, his mom allowed him to show me how to format, you know, when I first started writing and everything like that. Because I didn't know, you know, how to put it in Google Docs and all that other stuff like that. Derek set that up for me. I know how to tell a story, I know how to write, but I don't know her ability to write the story for someone to be able to and articulate it in a manner where it is enjoyable to others. She could tell the facts of the story and what
happened, but I truly believe somebody was helping her. And they may have been, you know, like she typed this and she sent it to them and they redo it or say whatever they want to say. If they wasn't directly spending the time with her, then I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Now remember, allegedly Kim Porter was robbed of 2 laptops when she passed. Now, one of her BFFs, Kimora Lee Simmons, knows a lot, okay? And this is all alleged. Now, the stylist, quote unquote, is said to be on the run. And this is what I'm talking about all these stories that are swirling recently, right? And this came, it's like the stylist came home, right? And it was ransacked. And I think these were scare tactics used. So, you know, so allegedly the stylist is on the run. Now, that is another person who I feel knows a lot about a lot that can go into this book. Okay, they have a lot of information. Now, the stylist revealed convos with Kim Porter and was present 3 times when Diddy allegedly put his paws on her. Now, they say also that Clive Davis was sleeping with Diddy on the regular, okay? Now, like I said, all of this is alleged, right? But as of recently, November 22nd, on Twitter, Al B. Sure let us know and posted that he had almost lost his life and had woke from a 2-month coma. Now, we don't know what caused this condition, but here's some of the posts that
in early to mid-July, I was in a meeting over lunch, wrapped up, and proceeded back to the studio to continue working on my upcoming project. As I sat in front of the computer, I began to lose feeling on the entire left side of my body and fell over to the side. Fortunately, my phone was within reach, and I was able to call for assistance. I only remember sitting in the ER in a wheelchair, and my brother, DJ Eddie, standing next to me speaking with a security guard. It was October, when I was made fully aware of what had transpired, and was able to start to comprehend it all. I had multiple surgeries covering every...
And this is another person that may hold the secrets to this tell-all book, because I do not believe for 1 second that they started, that they ever stopped seeing each other, okay? I believe that they had a true love, All right. And I do not believe that they ever really stopped seeing each other. Okay. Even if it was just for the child. Yeah, you can chalk it up to that. But I feel they were genuinely in love. Okay. I feel that Albie Shore feared for his life. And he believes that Kim Porter was red rummed. She was unalived. He does not believe. And there are some new details out there that are saying that she was found in the bathroom, not in the bed. If she was found in the bed, she must have been propped there. There was also blood on her pillows. Okay, as well as a trail of blood from the bedroom to the bathroom. Now, this is allegedly, take this with a grain of salt and do your own research. But what I'm trying to say is there was foul play when Kim Porter left this earth, and somebody wanted to stop her from putting out this tell-all book. Now, the reason why I think that there is still hope that this book is going to be put out because, number one, I think everything that's done in the dark will come to light, right? Not only that, but the truth will always be revealed. You'll never, ever be able to keep down the truth forever, okay? So I feel in that instance that this book is going to come out, but we have avenues, okay? We have several different people that may have the inside scoop and know the secrets that she was about to put into this book, because I do feel that maybe she was working with somebody, maybe she had a ghostwriter, meaning that she, had the guts, but someone had to, put it all together into a pretty package, I'm not taking anything away from Kim. She's beautiful. I know she was a model, an actress. She was a socialite, and I, respect her. But I do feel other people can help you. And I feel that she had some help in some way, shape, or form, whether it was to write it a little bit better, or to, add a little, or to just give her advice, right? Or just be there as a support system. I'm sure she had a support system that shared in this information, y'all. So let us stay tuned for this up and coming Kim Porter tell-all book, because I'm telling you, out of the niece as of September of 2022, and he's facing legal action from a woman claiming to be Kim Porter's niece, right? On top of that, we have Albie Shore, which I told you, I think he feared for his life. And he told us that Kim Porter was red rummed, okay? And then on top of that, we have Kimora Lee Simmons, because she was really, really close to Kim. And she was so distraught at the scene. I think she knows something, y'all. This stylist who seems to be on the run and writing the book, y'all. Go ahead and check everything out. Make sure you go over these clips I have shown you and you put the pieces together. But this is not the end, okay? This is not the end of this story. And I just wanted to bring you guys the rest of the information that I found out, okay? I will be back. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and share my shit. This is Lisa Blonay, and I'll be back on the next video.
Rodeo and then let her pick up whatever she want. CC Gucci hippo take her whatever she want. She pissed me off somehow, she still get whatever she want. Talking about her nails, I'm feeling nail ass at home. Hit it in the shower, made her tell me what she want. Like I'm singing Maze, I made her tell me what